Hi everyone, and welcome to another obscure Asian story.
The phrase "when it rains, it pours" aptly describes the money laundering scandal currently engulfing Singapore. 6 single-family office funds linked to a $2.2 billion money laundering case have received tax incentives from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. 10 individuals have been arrested, charged, and convicted of crimes including forgery, laundering profits from organized crime, and participating in illegal online gambling operations targeting China. The scandal has also implicated property agents and multiple banks, with further investigations underway against 17 additional suspects not currently in Singapore. Authorities, but also the ultra-wealth families, are facing a new challenge: fake or exaggerated peers appearing overnight. The family office space has grown so large that it attracts both legitimate players and those looking to make a quick profit. These alleged imposters are forcing many in the sector to act as detectives, distinguishing between the real and the fake. Messaging groups once used for social events and golf matches have become impromptu vigilante groups, with members using their diligence skills to review resumes and firms, a process some have dubbed going full CSI. The low entry barrier, private nature of founders' wealth, and difficulty in conducting due diligence contribute to this issue. Family offices, particularly single-family offices, have become increasingly popular. Essentially, a family office exists when a family employs staff to manage their financial affairs. As family wealth grows and needs become more complex, a family office can evolve from a simple founder's office into a comprehensive full-service office.
The growing markets of Southeast Asia makes it an ideal location for families and growing families to invest their money and establish their family offices.
Before establishing an SFO, families often manage their affairs with help from professionals like accountants, lawyers, private bankers, and brokers. In Asia, ultra-high net worth families use family offices to address both financial and non-financial needs, such as family governance, legacy preservation, education, insurance, charitable giving, investing, and overseeing family-owned businesses. The wealth managed by a family office is typically the family's own, accumulated over generations. Family offices are set up solely for the family, focusing on their interests independently. They are tailored to the family's preferences and supported by trusted in-house staff and external professionals who act as advisors and ask the tough questions. A typical family office structure in Asia includes the family's holding company, the family office, and the investment vehicles via a trust. Family offices in Asia are experiencing a significant rise in popularity, reflecting a major shift in the region's wealth management landscape. This surge is driven by substantial economic growth in Southeast Asia, fueled by foreign investment, urbanization, and infrastructure development in countries like Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Wealthy families are increasingly recognizing the need for professional structures and governance frameworks to manage their complex financial affairs. The trend towards institutionalization is further accelerated by favorable government policies and regulations in financial centers such as Singapore and Hong Kong. Singapore, in particular, has streamlined regulations and introduced tax incentives, attracting over 1,400 single-family offices by the end of 2023. While wealth management remains a priority, family offices are expanding their focus to include asset diversification, sustainability, impact investment, and philanthropy. Wealthy families are aligning their investments with their values and societal impact, seeking opportunities to invest in sustainable and socially responsible assets, supporting a more inclusive and sustainable future. However, in August 2023, Singapore arrested 10 foreigners, mainly of Chinese origin, but holding multiple nationalities, in simultaneous raids across the country. The government seized billions of dollars worth of assets, including luxury properties, cars, and gold bars. Tax benefits were withdrawn from the financial year the owners or their spouses were charged or convicted, but benefits given prior won't be clawed back unless tax incentive conditions were breached. The total value of assets forfeited from convicted individuals linked to single-family office funds far exceeds any tax benefits accorded. The government explained that none of the arrested individuals were on Interpol's Red Notice list when they applied for visas into Singapore. Since the scandal, authorities have increased scrutiny of the financial sector, broadening due diligence checks. In March of this year, the Monetary Authority of Singapore announced it would repeal a licensing regime for hedge funds with assets up to $250 million by August 1st. Annual forms submitted to the MAS by family offices with tax exemptions must now confirm that their beneficial owners, directors, representatives, and shareholders have never committed, been convicted, or even charged with money laundering or terrorist financing offenses. They must also confirm that assets under management adhere to domestic capital control regulations and that the fund management company isn't facing regulatory actions by any authority worldwide. Family offices must maintain an account with a private bank based in Singapore and provide the citizenship and country of birth for its ultimate beneficiaries and relevant staff members. The MAS has tightened the tax incentive process by expanding due diligence checks to a wider group of individuals and entities and appointing a panel to screen applicants for money laundering and terrorism financing risk. Single-family offices linked to charged individuals no longer enjoy tax incentives. Authorities have also been reaching out to directors of inactive companies, hedge funds, and family offices, stepping up closures to dormant firms. In the 5 years ending 2023, 17,000 inactive companies were struck off the register, with efforts ramped up since then. Singapore introduced legislation to tighten gaps around policing illicit money flows. The new bill will allow authorities to prosecute suspected offenders more effectively without needing to directly link illicit gains to the original crime. Law enforcement currently faces challenges in obtaining evidence from victims and authorities overseas, especially when criminal proceeds come from other jurisdictions. This legislation is part of Singapore's efforts to police the influx of foreign wealth following the nation's biggest ever money laundering case last year. The $2.2 billion online gambling case accounted for about half of the $6 billion seized in such cases over the past 5 years. In January, China's Foreign Affairs Ministry announced increased cooperation with Singapore to tackle cross-border money laundering crimes. Meanwhile, Hong Kong is positioning itself as a competitive family office hub, emphasizing the speed and clarity of its processes. Authorities have stated that any capital is welcome as long as it is lawful and rule-compliant. With limited options for offshore hubs in Asia with a Chinese majority population, wealthy Chinese families are considering Hong Kong as an alternative to Singapore. This shift comes as the Monetary Authority of Singapore has rejected applications from Chinese passport holders. Hong Kong and Singapore have been competing to attract wealthy Chinese investors. While some investors have moved to non-Chinese territories to avoid mainland authorities' control over Hong Kong, recent scrutiny in Singapore over Chinese wealth following money laundering cases has nudged some back to Hong Kong. As of the end of last year, 1,400 single-family offices in Singapore qualified for tax incentives, marking a 27% increase from the end of 2022. In comparison, Hong Kong estimates it had 2,700 single-family offices by the end of 2023. Setting up a family office in Hong Kong can take just a few weeks, while in Singapore it can take over a year. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, which approves tax incentives for family offices, has been dealing with larger caseload of applicants and applying more scrutiny to those seeking tax breaks, including 100% tax deductions for overseas philanthropic donations under certain conditions. Singapore aims to attract capital while eliminating bad actors. The MAS set 1 month deadline for family office tax incentive applicants to respond to questions. The MAS, along with financial institutions, has ongoing supervisory engagements to ensure robust protections against money laundering and terrorism financing, and will take actions if they fall short. In contrast, Hong Kong does not ask whether applicants have been rejected elsewhere. The speed and clarity of setting up family offices can be a double-edged sword. Family offices need local banking relationships, requiring watertight identification and documentation of family relationships, sources of wealth, and funds. Even with fintech, blockchain, and AI, this process remains slow. The shift from Singapore to Hong Kong may be temporary due to fears of Beijing's oversight. The US and Canada are also popular destinations for Chinese wealth. Anti-money laundering is a global issue for all offshore wealth centers, including Singapore and Hong Kong. Industry players note that imposters can exaggerate their roles within legitimate family offices or set up new firms with little backing, creating a growing problem of cosplay family office executives. Both Singapore and Hong Kong have faced family office embarrassments recently. In March, Hong Kong hosted its second Wealth for Good Summit to attract the global elite, offering tax breaks and simplified visas to become the regional hub for the growing business.
Specifically, if you talk about Hong Kong, I would say Hong Kong is a sophisticated financial hub.
At a recent
that
event,
has a strong
Sheikh
ties
Ali
also with
Rashid
China.
Ali Said Al Maktoum, who claims to be the nephew of Dubai's ruler, spoke about philanthropy and wealth legacy. He pledged to invest up to $500 million in a Hong Kong family office. However, after media questioned its background, Sheikh Ali delayed plans to open the office and left the city, citing urgent matters in Dubai. It was later revealed that his past career was a singer named Alira, and officials had not vetted his identity or financial background before the event. The UAE embassy confirmed he was a member of the royal family but provided no further comment. Industry players face main challenges in identifying fake family offices. The definition of a family office is broad, encompassing single-family offices for one family and multi-family offices for several. Services range from private school applications to yacht management. In 2019, Camden Research estimated there were 7,300 family offices, managing $5.9 trillion globally, with a typical firm costing at least $1.5 million a year to run, requiring $100 million in liquid assets. Increased tax breaks and benefits, especially in Asia, have distorted the concept of a family office. Singapore's tax exemption scheme, introduced in 2017, initially had no minimum for assets under management. The minimum is now 20 million Singapore dollars, but existing funds were grandfathered, leading to a rise in single-family offices. The term family office has become a buzzword for attracting wealth with no clear definition. Secrecy has long been a hallmark of the family office industry. While vague public personas can be a red flag in some sectors, they are often the norm in family offices. For example, a LinkedIn profile for Marie Young shows she's worked for a California-based family office since 2011, but she's actually the chief investment officer for Sergey Brin's family office, Bayshore Global Management LLC. This makes it harder to distinguish between legitimate and suspiciously elusive individuals, especially in developing markets like Asia and the Middle East, which lack the established professional networks of Europe and the US. Most families prefer to avoid visibility, making it difficult to pin down the population size of family offices. Family offices manage trillions of dollars globally, yet there are typically no license requirements or regulations for this fast-growing sector, nor is there a mandatory public registry. While financial centers are working hard to attract the ultra-wealthy, the current situation is also drawing in imposters, creating a risky environment for both local authorities and the super-rich. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time, and thanks for watching!